Good morning. This lesson is for my Integrated 1 class. This is Unit 3, Lesson 4. But before I get started, I want to say that I hope everybody is doing all right out there. Let me make sure this is recording. And it is, okay. Excellent. We have 3 goals today. Our first goal is to create a template for tables and a formula for equations. I wanted to do this because some of us just quite aren't grasping how to rewrite the table with a repeating number. Some of you guys are doing wonderful with it, so at this point I think that it's probably fair to just show you how we can make a formula out of this and plug in numbers, and maybe that'll help some of you better understand how the repeating numbers work. Our second goal is going to be to simplify the equation. That's really easy to do. And our third goal is going to be to create tables for situations, and when we create a table for a situation, we actually can write an equation that represents this situation. So let's go ahead and jump right into our first goal, and that's to create templates for tables and formulas for equations. And so what I want to do is I want to rewrite this with repeating numbers, and after I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you could actually write each row for the y value. So let me just go ahead and make a couple observations here. First of all, I know that 13 turns into 20 by adding 7. I know that 20 turns into 27 by adding 7. And I know that 27 turns into 34 by adding 7. This is our common difference. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the table with a pattern. And then after I do that again, I'm going to just quantify, which means to explain it as a big picture. All right. All right, so remember our first row stays the same. So it's 1 and 13. And I write 13 in every row afterwards. I need 1 7 to go from 13 to 20. So it's 13 plus 7 times 1, but I can't use 1 because it's not repeating, so I'm going to replace that and write a parentheses with a 2 minus 1. The next row is again going to be 13. I need to add 2 7s to go from 13 to 27, so it's 13 plus 7 times 2. But I don't have matching numbers, so again I have to replace that number with a parenthesis. I have to use 3, but make a value of 2, so this becomes 3 minus 1. And then the next row would be 4, and again it's 13. I need 3 7s to go from 13 to 34. And again, if I go 7 times 3, my numbers aren't repeating. So that means I need to replace that with a parenthesis and write 4 minus 1. This has a value of 3, and I have my repeating number. And once I get to this point, I can go forward and write my equation. I go dot, 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 or basically write my equation dot, 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 and I get x. So I rewrite every number that stays the same. And then I replace the repeating number with an x. Okay, and so let me talk about let me make some observations about these numbers. Okay, in every row. Okay, we see them in the table. Okay, so let's just start piecing these together. The number that I write first, this is the first y value. And then the number that I write next is going to be my common difference. I want to make sure this is dark enough so we can see it. Hopefully this number right here, in this case it's an x, but on these ones up here, it's the x value for that row. this last number is the opposite of my first x value. Okay, this is the opposite of my first x value. I think green shows up. And what we can do is we can actually write this as a template. So every row for the y values, if we follow this template, we can actually write the table with a repeating pattern. And this is where some of you guys are struggling. So I think that at this point, it's fair to do this. So the template for the table is going to be the first y value I think I went around the room. Let me write this over here. It's going to be the first y value plus the common difference parentheses. Make sure that's on the video here. Oh, it's just barely in there. Okay. X value of that row plus the opposite of the first x value. And I'm sorry that this might be a little hard to follow along, but you'll see here that if we follow this pattern, we can really quickly write the template for a table. So let's just do an example together, okay? So I'll make up another table. All right, I'm going to make up another table here. We'll say 1, and we'll go 25, 2 and 21, 3 and 17, and 4 and 13. Okay, so again, I have this pattern here, this template. My first y value is 25. My common difference on this table, I'm subtracting 4 from every row. Okay, so it's 25 plus, you can say 25 plus a negative 4, that's fine. Or you could just say minus 4. Then I'm going to put a parenthesis. I'm going to wait to put this in there because I don't know what row I'm on. But then I'm going to do the opposite of the first x, so it's minus 1. So it's going to be something minus 1. This will change with every row. Okay, so when we write our table, it now becomes, and you could even write this on the first row. You can honestly write this for every row. So it's going to be, my first row is 25. We'll keep it as we've had it, but you could use this for the first row. The second row is going to be 25 minus 4. My x value for that row is 2 minus 1. Okay. My third row is 25 minus 4, my common difference. My x value for that row is 3 minus 1, the opposite of my first. Okay. My fourth one is going to be 25 minus 4. My x value for that row is 4 minus 1. And now I can generalize this because I have a repeating pattern. And for my x row, it's going to be 25, my first y value, minus my common difference, my x value for that row, minus the opposite, minus 1, which is the opposite of my first x. So this is how we create a template for tables. If we set this equal to f of x, we have a formula for our equation, okay? So let me write that down real quick. So again, I'm doing this lesson in this way because some of us were really struggling with writing the table with repeating patterns. And next week we have a chance to retake these tests. So you know what? You can use this lesson on those previous tests, ace them because now we have the formula, get those points that we missed, and let's bring these grades up. All right, so I'm going to check off my first goal. Okay? And actually let me write the equation for this, right? So if I set this guy equal to f of x, I've written my equation. So my equation for this one, actually let me move on to my second goal. I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place. Our second goal. And so my equation for this scenario would be f of x equals my first y value, which was 25, minus 4, which is my common difference, my x, value of my x, my x value for that row is x, and then the opposite of my first x value is minus 1. That is my equation. So I'm going to move on to the second goal, and that's to simplify. This is really, really easy to do. So let's just, it's a two-step process. I don't think it'll be very difficult for us. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute, and I get 25 minus 4x, minus 4, minus 1, that becomes plus 4 when I multiply them out. Now I'm going to combine like terms, and I get f of x is equal to 25 minus, let me learn how to add, equal to 29 minus 4x, or we could say minus 4x plus 29. So that's how we do the second goal. It's really simple. I think the majority of this lesson is going to be creating the template for tables and formulas. So again, this is what I've been working towards, and I didn't want to formalize it yet. I was hoping that we would be able to figure it out. I got about half of you that are struggling, and so let's just get the formula now and understand that. I'm going to hit pause on this video so I can set up the third goal, which is really easy, but hopefully this is helping out and making more sense. I'm back. All right, so let's move on to our third goal here, and that's going to be to create tables for situations. Okay, the thing that you're probably going to struggle with on this is knowing if we're starting with a 0 or with a 1. All right, so we have to take into consideration what each situation is telling us. And so here I have a situation that's actually a real life situation. A lot of professionals charge a certain amount to show up, and then they charge an additional fee per hour. A plumber charges $90 to show up, and then $50 an hour after the first hour. Okay. So a lot of you are going to think that, well, I'm going to start my table with 1, right? Because it says after the first hour. But that's not how this table actually works. Okay? It actually works in the sense that the plumber shows up, he's been there for 0 hours. So when the plumber shows up, it's going to cost you $90. Okay? Now, after that hour has gone by, we are now into, we have now passed the first hour, and they're going to add $50. So the amount of time that we're going to be charged for this this second hour, even though it's the second hour, is we will have paid a total of $140 because he charges us $50 after the first hour. After this hour, we're going to be charged another $50, so this is going to be $190 that we paid after 3 hours of work. I know that this is a 2, but the plumber has been here. This is the 3rd hour that the plumber has been working. Okay? This is the 4th hour the plumber has been working, and they're charging us another $50, so it's going to be $240. Okay, so now I can actually create, or I can find my common difference, which is going to be 50 plus 50 plus 50. And I can really quickly write the table with a pattern, right? Let me just make sure that I'm on the screen so that we can see this. Okay, good, we're on the screen. All right, so I'm just going to follow this. Remember, the first row stays the same, 0, 90. Some of you might notice, like, oh, I'm starting with 0, so the numbers will repeat automatically. We can just follow this and answer every question. All right, so every new row is going to be the first y value plus the common difference. So the first y value plus the common difference. And then we want the x value for the row plus the opposite of the first x value. So my x value for that row is 1. And the opposite of my first x value is going to be minus 0. Okay, that's how I write my second row. My third row is going to be my first y value plus my common difference, the x value for the row, which is 2, minus the first x value, the opposite of the first x, right? And we'll do one more just so you can see that. So 3, first y value, plus my common difference, the x value for that row, minus 0. And now I can generalize, and I get x is 90, my first y value, plus my common difference, times my x value for that row, minus 0, which is the opposite of my first x value. And if I set this equal to f of x, my equation becomes f of x equals 90 plus 50 times x minus 0. I multiply this out. I get 90 plus 50x plus 0. 90 plus 0 is 90. So my equation for this scenario is f of x equals 50x plus 90, or we could say 90 plus 50x, right? So that's what I wanted to get out of this, and I'm going to do one more quick example. Okay, let me do this. One more quick example. So we're going to see something called sequences, and a sequence of events has a first event, and then a second event, and then a third event, right? So if I just gave you a string of numbers like 8, 14, 20, and 26. If I gave you this string of numbers, we could actually assign an order to these numbers, right? I could actually say that this is my first number, this is my second number, this is my third number, this is my fourth number, etc., etc., etc. And from there, I can actually rewrite this as a table. So 1 and 8, 2 and 14, 3 and 20, and 4 and 26. And now I go into what we just did, and I can rewrite the table with a pattern. I can create the equation for it, and I can simplify it. Again, if you're given a situation, assign an order. That's my first part. There's my second, there's my third, there's my fourth, and from there we can create a table. So hopefully this helps clarify some things. And again, I hope everyone's doing all right out there. Have a good day. Bye-bye.